Privilege R. In the last episode of the Privilege R, we talked about the recent policy changes to the immigration regulations, which now require foreign contract workers to leave Canada as early as April 1st, 2015. We also talk about the flaws that permeate the current regulatory regime. And finally, we try to come up with recommendations to soften or minimize the adverse impact on the people that will be most affected by the new policy changes. And those are the temporary foreign workers. Tonight, we continue with the episode by hearing from the reactions from the contract workers themselves. With me are my colleagues, Nikki and Ziyad.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Privilege R. I propose to start our discussion tonight by talking about mass deportation. We always say, stop the mass deportation. But why do we exactly refer to this situation that's going to happen as a mass deportation? Anybody can share your thoughts about this?
Well, you take a look at it from the number of temporary foreign workers that were brought in from 2005 until to date. And considering those, many of them continue to stay based on their LMO or based on their contract status or work status to extend for further years. And now, aside from that, you have the additional foreign temporary workers that they brought in. That's during this process it was taking effect. So if you add all this together with the sudden cut on the number of years that foreign workers allowed to stay in the country, you're looking into a very large number of foreign workers that they need to leave the country by April 1st. So you add them up all together. It's just simple math, 1 + 1 = 2. Foreign workers that we'd here and they were given extensions to their stay, and now they can no longer give an extension of their stay, plus the foreign workers that brought in during the process and shortly after the process. So you take a look at these numbers, add them up together, you'll have a true mass deportation.
So the sheer numbers. Yes, Niggy?
Yes, as I've said, in 2010 alone, it's close to 450,000 temporary foreign workers in the country. Now, those numbers, as I've said, are doubled up because of the entries that they could come, they could go back home and come back, and there could be double entry there. But we're looking at least, I would say, 100,000 going back home.
That's the least. What I would say, probably that's not an accurate numbers, as we talked about in the earlier episode. It's the actual number of people leaving the country is not considered as the people who stay in here. So there's an absolute discrepancy between the employees or the temporary foreign workers who are in the country compared with those that have been left the country.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think we should hear from the street, like the reactions from the street, like what we left off at the last episode. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch the following interviews.
Come April 1, Canada will be sending thousands and thousands of temporary foreign workers who have helped this country in the service industry, and because they've been here 4 years. And this is a mandatory send-off, a mass deportation. Today we're here with one temporary foreign worker, May I ask you, what is your opinion with regards to Canada's move to send the temporary foreign workers away after April 1 if they've been in the country for 4 years?
Well, I feel sad about that issue because as a foreign worker, being sent back home is so hard because I don't have any job when I go back to the Philippines because I've stayed here for 4 years. Although I stay here for 4 years, but I still have so many debt that I need to pay in the Philippines because of the money that I used when I came here. So I haven't finished paying those, and then I'll be sent back to the Philippines by April. So I feel really very bad with that.
Do you think your employer still needs your services here?
Yeah, actually they tried to renew my papers, but I don't know why did they deny it, because it's just like I renew, it's still the same employer, but they they deny my paper, so I don't know why they deny that one. Staying for 4 years on the same employer, so I really don't know why did they deny it.
Do you see Canadian employees coming in to apply in your company?
Um, yeah, but they come and go. Once they don't like the job, they just quit. So we keep on my bosses keep on hiring people, but they just come and go.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Well, gentlemen, as what you have seen earlier in this episode, it's basically a classic case of what a temporary foreign worker goes through as they make their way to Canada for a golden opportunity of improving the quality of their lives. So, as you've seen from the video, it's not like a walk in the park or just an easy given for a contract worker to come to Canada for an opportunity to work here and improve the quality of their lives. They go through so much.
So it's not like magically they appear here in Canada already and all set, right?
No.
They have to go through a process. And in the process, there are costs and expenses that they entail, right?
True. I agree.
Nikki?
Yeah, that process is a tedious process, as we know. Majority of these people go through agencies. They're not familiar with paperwork, so they will get an agency involved to get them over here and get the proper paperwork done.
Right, and if you notice from this case, it's basically they go even the employee himself or the temporary foreign worker himself cost him more funds, or cost him more money, or cost him more hardship from the point of where he applies or she applies up to the point when he arrives in Canada. So it's really tedious process, expensive process on the employee or the temporary foreign worker, and thinking that would be the golden opportunity for them that they will be able to recover or recuperate from what they went through before arriving to Canada.
Any further thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, you know what? It's in this case, I believe that it's now we will go back again to regulation and legislation, and here that we can find ourselves in a place where we could identify that there should have been a better regulations as well over.
You know what?
And about those employment agencies that they supposed to work with the employer and with the temporary foreign worker, and make sure that this all done through the right process of what the government has legislated and under the actual regulations of what the government is trying to regulate in order for them to identify what's needed in the country and what it's not.
You know what? You brought out a very interesting point, Ziad. The way I see it, foreign contract workers in Canada do not exist in a vacuum. Okay? In other words, they go through real-life experiences, they incur expenses, and my question now, which brings to my mind, is how did the government arrive at the 4-year cap? Did they conduct an intensive and extensive feasibility study to determine the impact of the policy change to these foreign contract workers? Did they determine that 4 years is enough for these foreign contract workers to be able to repay back the loan or the expenses that they incurred in coming over here? In other words, what objective basis did they use? Now, having said that, this will now enable or should enable the government of Canada to come up with pragmatic solutions, not bureaucratic solutions to the existing problem situation. By coming up with pragmatic solutions, then it will be in line more with the realities of the situation and will soften the impact on the foreign contract workers affected. What do you think, guys?
Well, the way I look at it, the foreign workers are not here to steal a job from a Canadian. And plain and simple, we have reiterated at the start of the show that we are 101% to protect the Canadian job market, the Canadian interests.
Because we are Canadians
We
now.
are Canadians.
We are Canadians.
So what's important here is to not just legislate, as you have said, but we need proper enforcement. We need
In a fair
manner.
manner.
And we also need to look at the humanitarian side
Aspects.
of things and balance everything up.
Final thoughts, Ian?
Well, I think this would go back to the process from A to Z. Who brings them? How much cost was involved? And where they go work with? Who looks after them? Who is their guardian? And who regulates all of that? So, if you put that in one context, to say that there is a loopholes or there is failure, there are gaps in the whole process. I'm going to go back to why the employee or the temporary foreign worker cost him thousands and thousands of dollars to come to Canada. When, if I'm not mistaken, by law, it's the employer supposed to be providing with all the costs. The fare tickets, the processing fees, and what it entails for the employee to come to Canada. So now, if there is any extra costs on the temporary foreign worker, then the government should and they need to look into this. And basically, who are the culprit and who is behind the irregularities? And I think our government will do a great job in finding out and regulating it, or put them back into the right mainstream of proper bringing the employees or the temporary foreign workers to Canada.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
gentlemen. At this juncture, we will present you another tape interview of another foreign contract worker who explains his current situation and the problems he encountered in applying and his experience when he arrived in Canada.
We are here today with another temporary foreign worker who's got affected by the mass deportation that's coming up on April 1. We'll talk to Jerry about his experiences and how he was able to come to Canada and what things were promised to him when he applied for a job here in Canada. So, Jerry, you talk about your experiences coming to Canada, right? Can you please discuss me your experience and how you come about to come to Canada?
Yeah, so when we arrived to Toronto, there's no job, and the employer that they promised us is a dummy, and so we actually complained to the agency who helped us get to Canada because of the debts that we need to pay back in the Philippines. And so the agency found a new company, which is in Calgary. And we were supposed to be working for a hotel, but hotel owner doesn't have any job vacancy for hotel. So they send us to another place. Same owner, but different business. So we worked as a worm picker for a couple of weeks, but I can't stand my situation.
So, now that the mass deportation is coming up on April 1, and a lot of temporary foreign workers like you are going to be sent home because you've been here for the 4 years now.
Yeah.
What can you say about this?
Well, that's not really good for me or for the other foreign workers because we still have a lot of debts to pay back in the Philippines. I haven't even got the chance to save money, and now I don't know where to get money to pay for my fare going back to Philippines because, like I said, all the money that I've earned from my present job right now I've sent it back home to pay my debts and also to support my family. So,
Do you have any message for Prime Minister Harper if he's watching the show?
well, to the people involved, to the Prime Minister, I don't know what you're doing. I've seen a lot of ads about express entry to Canada. And you're trying to get more people to come into Canada, but what about those people that's already here? You're trying to get rid of them and get get more people from outside. So I think you should be focusing your solution to the people that's already here, not by sending back to where they came from, but by giving them more stability job, because they've already helped you support your government by paying taxes and everything. So I think you should be focusing on us, not on the people that's not yet already here.
Thank you, Jerry.
This is a classic example of a foreign worker not knowing what is out here, what is out here in Canada when they apply for a job. People have misled, could have misled, allegedly misled the said foreign worker into a job into Toronto. Unfortunately, he landed into a different job in Calgary, and it was supposed to be a hotel job, and then ended up to be a worm picker. That is not the problem. The biggest problem that there is people are not informed prior to getting into the country that well. So we are here to help
Create awareness.
create awareness. What do you
Yeah,
think,
no,
Steve?
I think you're right. I mean, it's either the misleading or either the way that was those temporary foreign workers were left to the elements of the employment agencies, promising them that there is a job for them upon arrival, end up no job, moving them looking for an employer for them while they are in the country. Now, it's time wasted. It's money cost on the temporary foreign worker, moving them from one city to another city. And from one job to another job. It's basically that's not what they were. If either were they promised, or they were given the opportunity that that's exactly what they're coming for.
Mhm.
So is this a false pretense? Perhaps. Is it misleading? Perhaps. So now, the dilemma or the problem that this temporary foreign worker is facing is, what is my future? So, gentlemen, as what you have seen from these two classical cases, that is commonly shared amongst all temporary foreign workers that come to the country, that the process itself is very expensive. The way that the temporary foreign worker cost him to arrive to Canada thinking that there's a dream and they can easily recover from the cost, I think that is a false pretense or misleading. It should have been given an onset from the beginning of their hirings. And I think that there's so much of a stress up to them.
Yeah, it's really stressful for someone to come in and work in a foreign land, trying to adopt the culture, the Canadian culture, trying to think that, I'm going to have a brighter future when I come to Canada and work. And this, obviously, foreign workers are helping the Canadian society in all sorts of ways. Let me state again that they're not here to take away a job from a Canadian. As we can see, all the jobs that they've come in and work for are those jobs that the employers can't find employees for. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree with what both of you have said, and I don't think I can add anything further to what you have already stated, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us are aware, and many of others share the same opinion with regards. These temporary foreign workers are here to complement the local
Labor
workforce
workforce.
or workforce. It's not to take away. It is not to compromise or jeopardize the local workforce. It's here to complement, and they have been really. These temporary foreign workers have been doing an outstanding job in every service they do. I mean, personally, as a customer, I like to be served by those temporary foreign workers, and as much as I love also from our local employees, that they have this, they are basically at par with the kind of customer service that we all receive.
Yeah.
And I believe that they should be given the opportunity to stay.
Both programs can coexist with each other.
Oh, 100%.
And that is where the economic strength of Canada and the great future will lie.
100%.
So, yeah, just imagine if we don't have the foreign workers doing the service industry. Think about that. what does that look like?
How will it impact on the lives? So
We'll leave it for the public to provide that
That's
kind of opinion.
up to you to decide on what it looks like.
Thank you very much for your opinions, well-enlightened opinions, gentlemen. Let's shift to another topic. One of the hottest topics also that are being discussed in the community is the Consular Outreach Program. For our next episode of the Privileged Hour, we will be dealing with the Consular Outreach Program. Questions like the following. What is the nature and function of the Consular Outreach Program? What are the logistics involved in holding the Consular Outreach Program? Why not do it on a regular basis? What's the method of publishing the information when a Consular Outreach Program is to be conducted? In other words, when would the public know? Way in advance if there's a Consular Outreach Program. How long does the service run in a particular period of time? And is there an ability to make an online reservation? These and other questions we will attempt to answer in the next episode of the Privileged Hour. Because in our belief, the Consular Outreach Program must be portable and accessible. This we will attempt to answer in our next episode. Till then, we bid you good night. And again, from the Privileged Hour, ours is the privilege to serve you. This is the Privileged Hour. Good night.